Hey everyone, I'm Heather. This is Jamie, and this is the podcast Life in Motion. And we are in a mini season, Surviving Summer.
I love when you get your professional voice going.
Yeah, I've got a really good professional voice.
You do.
I'm available for radio and TV.
Oh my goodness. We're glad you're with us. Let's go ahead and get started.
And BTW, we don't dress alike on purpose.
It just happens. Let's get started.
I am so tired.
Why?
Because I've got 3 older teens, or one is actually no longer a teen,
Young adult.
but
Yeah.
that stay up late.
Yeah.
And then I have chickens that get up very early.
Yeah.
And so I am staying up late every night because people are out, and I'm just like, well, I'll stay up till they get home.
Sure.
Or go to bed and wake me up when you get home.
Right.
Let me know
make
you're
sure
home.
you're here.
Or, and then I'm up, I wake up usually before 6 a.m. and then am getting up and going out and starting my day. I mean, I'm just like so tired.
I don't mean to complain, but
go
I'm a
ahead.
pretty good complainer. I'm pretty good at it. I thought when my babies didn't sleep through the night, that was as tired as I could possibly be. And I'm kind of with you right now. Teenagers staying up really late, Eleanor getting up early, and Eleanor is in show week of this musical theater production that she's in, which turns out is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like there's Broadway actors that came in. We stumbled into it, and it's been really amazing. But I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
She had rehearsal basically every day for a month, and then twice a day for 2 weeks leading up to the show, and now 7 shows before we're done. And it's wonderful. And it's like I tear up when I see her because she seems to be having the time of her life. It's all great, but never have I been this tired.
Is she at least sleeping in?
She is, but only like the last 2 days. So the last 2 days she slept until 10 in the morning. Like record breaking, but even all summer as she's been having all these rehearsals, she's still waking up at 7:30. So then she's like got dark circles under her eyes and she's grumpy. And anyway, it's happy summer break.
Yeah. Kids having friends over, and I want to go to bed, and they're up doing stuff, and I'm just like, I got to be responsible here. And then Whit's been out of town for the last couple of days, and so I'm like, I'm the only one. I have to power through here, but I am ready for a really good nap.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Which I don't even know if that's ever going to happen.
Oh my goodness. We have a rule in our house that we love for our boys to have their girlfriends over at our house where we're kind of the watchful eyes and no one can go upstairs. Everyone has to stay in the main living room, and our bedroom's right off the main living room. So last night, while 2 teenagers are watching a movie, and you can't watch a good movie unless it's on like really loud right next to my bedroom. And I kind of want to have like one ear paying a little bit of attention, but Brian was like, what time are they leaving? It's just so loud, so late. So anyway, just an interesting summer.
Yeah. I was going to say you can't really watch a good movie without blankets and
oh my goodness,
cuddling.
Oh my goodness gracious. Speaking of that, can we do a PSA for our listeners real quick?
Always.
This is crazy because I've heard this 3 times this summer. 3 different people, 2 teenagers, 1 an adult, but 3 different people. I heard it most recently last night. I was working the merchandise table at Shrek the Musical, and I was working with some other moms. And this mom, I think she'd be okay with me sharing because she said, I really wish I could share the story, but if I did, my fear is that people would know it was my daughter, and I don't think she'd be okay with it. So
you share
I'm
it.
going to share it.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it. Back in January, so her daughter is 16. She had just turned 16, just barely driving on Snapchat. Met a friend on Snapchat that had all these mutual friends. Like that's how you meet people. And I think like as adults, that's how we meet people. Last night I'm working this table and somebody says, my kids go to this school, and I go, oh my goodness, do you know so-and-so who I'm friends with? That's how we meet people, is through mutual friends. And so I get it. So her 16-year-old daughter adds a friend on Snapchat that they have several mutual friends. And after a short amount of time of talking back and forth, so this is a girl who added a girl, or so she thought. And after a short amount of time of talking back and forth, the conversation just really went south. Her parents didn't know. She wasn't telling anyone, but she got scared. And it was a lot of threatening messages, a lot of sexually threatening messages, a lot of send me this picture, or I will send your face to a porn site and they will put your face on someone else's body and everyone will think it's you.
Oh my gosh.
If you don't do this, then send me this money or this, just a lot of threats. And she was scared.
Yeah.
As well she should be. And in her mind, this is someone that lives in my town.
Yeah.
That knows all my friends. And why are they doing this to me? And thank the Lord. I don't know what inside of her, but she searched up. She was too afraid to tell her parents.
Yeah.
But she searched up
Which when you're 16, you're like, this is the end of the world and I'm going to be in trouble.
Right.
And
not only am I going to be embarrassed among all my peers, then I'm going to be in trouble at home and my parents are going to put me on lockdown and I'm going to be grounded. All the things. I get it.
Yeah.
She did a little research. How do you report things like this? So she reported it. This is how her family found out. 3 months later, so she's still like kind of living in fear. Like her mom said, I remember when she quit driving places at night and was just like, Mom, would you just take me? She didn't ever want to have to walk to her car at night, worried that somebody might be waiting for her. I'm just like, 16-year-old girl. 3 months later, the mom gets home and on her front porch, like where her little
welcome mat
Thank
is.
you. A little welcome mat was sitting. It had been moved over, maybe a plant and a potter, and the welcome mat had been moved over, and there's a card left there. Intentionally, things moved so that she would see it. A card from the FBI.
Ooh.
And she said, so my husband and I are like, the FBI would like us to call them. Like, what is going on? So she has like young adults and she's just like, have any of you broken the law? What's going
Tell
on?
me now.
Yeah, just tell me now. Have any of you gone to a bar and you thought a girl was 21 and she was 16? Because I need to know before I call the FBI. Anyway, nobody knows what's going on. They did contact the FBI. They thought it was legitimate. It was. And the FBI says, we believe that your daughter is being targeted by a sexual predator for sex trafficking. And anyway, the daughter ends up being interviewed and all these things. Everything is fine now. They have tracked down this predator. This was no one anywhere remotely close to where we live or where we are. They didn't have her address. The family's not in harm's way. Like it's a happy ending. But this is the third situation like this of people. I don't know this little girl. I know her mom, but third person I know personally this summer that this has happened to, all on Snapchat.
That's
so.
awful.
I mean, train up your kids, I guess.
Well,
my kids have Snapchat, but open conversations about things like this. I think we always think that would never happen to us.
Right. That's like my two little girls play Roblox and they always play in the same room that I'm in. And if they are chatting with anybody, because sometimes some of these games that they play, the whole online electronic gaming is beyond me.
Sure.
So I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
But they have to chat sometimes for some of these games. And I'm just like, well, then you just sit there and you tell me what you're talking about the whole time. And, and usually it's like, oh, I'm chasing down this person or, whatever. I don't even know. But great. Well, is anything making you uncomfortable? No. But it's kind of like constant vigilance. I really don't want to listen to these little games that they're playing, but I'm like, all right, well, you play them and I'm going to do my chores while you play games.
This is the most amazing conversation I've ever had because both your girls would tend to be a little bit quieter than my daughter. I cannot imagine approving a game in my house where I would be encouraging Eleanor to tell me everything she's saying the whole time because I already hear so many words a day.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, you got to do what you got to do because it is a dark world out there.
Yeah, it is. And from what I am seeing of these teenagers that I personally know that are being targeted, it's always, I'm friends with your friend so-and-so. These aren't like,
oh my gosh.
I know so-and-so. They told me to reach out to you, and then it's just not true.
Yeah. Well, Lou, she was on Snapchat and somehow was seeing somebody's private story. She was like, I don't even know this person, so I don't know how I was seeing their story.
Yeah.
But the person doing the private story is sharing a video recording, or maybe it's a live, I don't even know how it works, of a text thread that's happening, a group text thread that's happening. So
goodness.
she's watching this private story on Snapchat and is watching this text conversation happening and sees a couple of friends of hers names.
Yeah.
So a couple of friends
Yeah.
of hers are all of a sudden being named in a group chat that's being streamed somehow in a private Snapchat story. And she starts then really paying attention.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of guys that were talking about a couple of friends of hers that they're like, I'm after her V card, and I'm seeing how many girls I can hook up with this
I
summer.
don't know
or
exactly
whatever.
what you just said, but that doesn't sound good.
It's not good. And Lou was like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
she starts screen recording the conversation so she can share it with the friends that she knows that are being mentioned in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That leads me to two different directions that I think we should go today as we talk on Life in Motion.
Okay.
Because we're here surviving summer together.
Yes. Surviving teens.
Surviving teens, surviving summer, surviving. I'm laughing at listening to a few things you're saying because I didn't know what you were talking about. It reminds me of just last night working at that merchandise table. And the lady over it, she's just like, still can't remember what she said. It was something simple though. Like, do you have Google Docs on your phone or whatever? And whatever it was, she said, I go, I heard those words come out of your mouth, but I don't know what you just said. She's like, could you hand me your phone? Anyway, I kind of feel this way about my kids and trying to help them navigate life and going like, I don't know exactly what to say to you, but let's talk about it anyway.
Yeah. So I gave you an assignment.
Yeah, you did. You did.
And I hope you fulfilled your assignment.
Mostly. I mostly did.
You sound like a high school student.
Well, this is the deal. I couldn't get the book. I tried to order the book before I left town for a baseball tournament so I could read it while I was gone on a long trip. It wasn't going to arrive on time, so I got it on audio. I listened to most of it, but I found that the author's voice was very soothing, and occasionally I would nap through a few chapters.
Okay.
So I may have missed a few things.
So let's give a little synopsis.
Okay.
The book is called Everything Sad is Untrue, and it is a memoir, a true story based on now an adult male remembering his childhood, and he and his family, his mother and his sister, had to flee from Iran. There was a fatwa put on his mother's head because she became a follower of Christ when she was visiting family in London and was radically saved. She and her husband were a somewhat successful, affluent family in Iran. He was a dentist, she was a doctor, and when she came to know Jesus, she just was, from the child's perspective, she was transformed to the point where she starts meeting with the underground church and hangs a tiny little cross from her rearview mirror, and somebody puts a note on her windshield that says, "Doctor, you must remove this cross or we're going to kidnap you or punish you," or whatever it might be. And so she takes the cross down and then puts up an even bigger cross, and then is kidnapped and tortured to turn over all the rest of the names of the people that she goes to church with in a secret underground church. So they flee Iran and are miraculously able to get out of the country. They go to Dubai for a year with just a suitcase. They're on the streets for a year trying to get out of the country and join another refugee camp, where they end up in Italy for a year. And then again, they end up in Oklahoma where they immigrate to for the rest of their lives.
You made that sound far better than I remembered. Far more like a little bit about the overall story that I missed during my nap. But I did appreciate the childlike perspective of, what was happening in this boy's life, how he was perceived and received and sometimes rejected as just a person because he was different.
Because he was different. Because it's interesting, he goes into the cultural context of how you receive people, how you host people, and how that comes differently in America. And then food. I mean, it's just food.
Food differences, a lot of bullying happened because he was different.
Because he was different. Oh my gosh, yeah. The thing that I loved about the book was the perspective it gave me of an outsider trying to come in. He gives stories of entering, being in a classroom and trying to navigate, trying to just with, I'll say, his spidey senses, trying to figure out how to socially integrate himself, how to connect, how to survive a school bus ride with the bullying that's happening, how to survive in a classroom, how to survive in the lunchroom where there's so many people that seem to be against him, but he wants a personal connection, wants to belong.
And how much, in my opinion, that human nature is to internalize your challenges and not. I wasn't going to talk about this, at least not right now, but I think I'll talk about it. I had a follow-up this week. I had that appointment with the psychiatrist that I mentioned earlier in the season. But I'm just thinking, like, as I think about the book and I think about human nature and I think about how we tend to internalize things, and especially if we somehow feel inferior or insecure, not good enough in certain situations, you don't necessarily tell. Like, he wasn't going home and telling his mom. His mom was saying, how was school? And he knew, she's working so hard. We're poor. Where we had money, where we used to live, we're now poor.
She was working. She went back to school to get a master's. Then she was working 2 jobs at the same time.
They're barely making ends meet. So she's coming home exhausted and just immediately starting to cook. And just, how was your day? And he's just saying it was fine. And I think how much we do that as people, how much I do that. And I just say, it's fine.
Yeah.
So with that appointment, I wanted to tell you, in fact, I texted you and said, I'm not going to tell you anything in case we talk about it on the podcast, but I had an hour-long, it was a Zoom call appointment. What I thought was, I'm meeting with the PA as a consultation so I can get into the real person that's going to help me because I always want to go straight to the top. So I had an appointment with a PA, and like the first 3, so it's an hour-long conversation. The first 3 minutes, I was like, well, it's going to be the exact same thing. She's going to talk. She's going to tell me all the benefits of medication and, how she can help me, and she's never going to listen to me. So that's my internal dialogue to start. And I just think, even like in this story of this young boy that is in a different situation, a different setting, he has this internal dialogue going. And I think that's what made the memoir, that's the parts of it I really found fascinating, was his internal dialogue and how he perceived the world. But she did talk for a while, but then she started asking questions, and I finally felt like I have someone who's listening to me. And first, just in case anyone's listening that struggles with any kind of mental health issues, I am not anti-medication. I'm not. But I do for myself. I can only speak for myself. I feel like the Lord has convicted my heart to take a holistic approach with my life. This started a couple of seasons ago when we're like, I'm going to look at my life spiritually and emotionally and physically, and whoa, it's taken me on a journey. So we talked for a very long time and kind of left our conversation with, I could be on medication every day for the rest of my life if I choose that. And I don't have to be if I choose that. But she gave me all the science and all the statistics. She said, because I've changed my diet, I might get these statistics wrong, but I wrote them down. I meant to bring them. Because I've changed my diet, I'm 26% less likely to have another major depressive episode. Because I exercise more than 3 days a week, I'm 33% less likely to have another major depressive episode. She said, however, you've had more than 3 of these. And she said, it could be genetic and it could be situational. It could be date rape when you're in college, a stillborn when you're in your 20s. It could be, situational, and your body taught yourself how to protect. And that's just what you do automatically. But she said, oh, this part I hate, which we've talked about it. But because I've had more than 3 episodes, I'm 80% more likely to have another one. So then that's where we start with, so what do I do? So she said, well, is it once a year? Like, how often do you feel this way? Is it once a year? I'm like, it's probably once a year. And she goes, is it once a month? No, not a chance. Is it once every 6 months? No, I don't think so, not a chance. So she's like, so now you're having to weigh, like, do you want to be on medicine knowing that you don't need it 11 months out of the year? But you have to remember to take it, and you have to have a follow-up doctor appointment. You have to keep your prescription current. Like, like, do you know that I'm not that responsible? Or do you want to work really hard to prepare yourself for when those feelings come and when you feel like you're spiraling so that you can counterbalance? So I said, she was so empowering to me. I said, this is all so helpful. I think I want to talk to my husband and talk to some of my friends and see. And she said, which I don't know why it makes me teary, and it felt so empowering. She said, I want you to do that, but they don't know how your brain feels. So I want you to make the decision for yourself. That feels so good, but it makes me cry.
Yeah.
So she's like, yes, talk to your husband. Yes, talk to your friends. And just know they don't know how it feels. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I thought, as we discuss this book, I thought as we talk about this man looking back to childhood and remembering, I just thought there's so much that unless you write a memoir, unless you fully share your life in community, there's so much about each of us that we just don't know. And people judge others and reject and all those things when if we would seek to understand. I think I was talking about Eleanor's little theater friend who is the nicest girl in the whole world. One of the things she said to Eleanor this week that I thought, if I could learn to be more like that 7-year-old, she was saying, she talks all summer, she's talked about her best friend. Like every car ride, we hear something about like, Ava said this at school and it was so funny. You know, she's my best friend. Like I feel like I know Ava. And just last week, it's like we're starting to wrap up this carpool. And the little girl says, Eleanor, I want you to meet Ava. I don't know why this is so sweet to me. She goes, you have to be friends with Ava. And Eleanor's like, why? And she goes, because I love both of you so much. Like, I want to share it. Where Eleanor and I are more like, she would say B's her best friend, and she would say, like, I'm not going to tell anybody what my friend's name is because you might like her and I might lose her. But I just think of like, my tendency is to hold close, to not share, to what if I share and I lose it? You have always been an includer. For the whole time I've known you, like, let's have a kids play date. And I show up and there's like 20 million people there because anybody that had a child that you invite. I've never been an includer. I think I have operated from a lack standpoint. Like, what if I share and then it's gone? But I read this book. I've watched this little girl. I have this appointment with a psychiatrist, and it's like, if you really want to be free, it's share more. It's give more away, which is scriptural, but I've not thought about it relationally. Like, share more, give more of yourself. So I'm almost done. We, the psychiatrist and I, the PA, who I don't think I'm going to have to see that bigwig psychiatrist because she was phenomenal. But she gave me what she called like a treatment plan. And she's like, here's your red flags to look for. I'm going to give you 4. Here's your red flags to look for. If any one of these starts happening, you need to go into action. And they're so basic and so scriptural. Like, I'm just like, this is phenomenal. This is like all the science I was looking for is in the Bible. It's amazing how this is working. But like the first one was, if you notice your self-talk is off. And you kind of go, well, I was like, well, give me an example. She goes, like, you're late to an appointment and you are so ridiculous. You cannot pull it together. She's like, you cannot have negative self-talk. You can't. Like, most people shouldn't. You can't. Like, it could cause you to spiral. You can't. I need you to treat yourself like you would treat a small child who'd made a mistake, where you just go, no big deal. It's okay. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that, but that's pretty easy. The second one was if any of my social interactions get off. Huge red flag, which I thought so interesting because my last spiral when you were out of town, and so I wasn't going to reach out to you anyway, if had you been in town. But that whole, like, Brian's just like, you need to talk to somebody. I'm just like, I don't want to. Well, evidently that is really bad for me. If you ever, like, she was like, what's important to you? So we talked about church and community. She's like, you ever miss church while you're feeling low? You can't do that. You cannot do that. You don't feel like calling a friend because you're feeling low. You can't not call them. Like, if you're going to attempt no medication, you cannot go through these red flags. I can't remember what the other two are because it's brand new, but they're very easy. They're very easy. So I'm gonna just wing it for a little while, looking at my red flags, keeping exercising, keep eating healthy. And I told her I'm a little bit scared that if I start going down, it takes 2 or 3 weeks to feel the effects of the medication. And she's just like, we're just going to roll the dice. It's okay. It's fine. Whatever you choose is what we're going to do. It's fine. She asked me some questions that were heavy. She was ruling out bipolar and schizophrenia and all kinds of stuff, which made me feel wildly uncomfortable. But I loved her so much that I thought, if she diagnosed me bipolar, she's who I want to be talking to. When this happens, she's who I want on my team. So who knew? I'm so afraid of psychiatrists. And I told Brian, I'd like to be friends with her in real life. And he's like, she probably doesn't want to be your friend in real life. She's your doctor. But I'm like, well, I like her.
She's got a good bedside manner. That doesn't mean that she wants to be your friend.
Were you extending an invitation to lunch? Anyway, but very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No answers necessarily,
but to be
all
seen
kinds of
and
information.
heard.
Yeah.
But to be seen and heard, and the understanding.
Yeah. She told me to add a mood tracker app to my phone. She said it's kind of like journaling, but easier if you don't like to sit down and write, but you're just like doing an emoji every day of like how you feel. She said you might start to see trends, like you might be more prone to anxiety or depression when your hormones are changing due to a menstrual cycle. You may be, she's like, you don't know until you start tracking your mood every day.
Yeah.
If you're not having mental health issues, I don't think you have to do that. But it's interesting. Like yesterday I woke up and I was like, how do I feel? And I was like, I feel like something might go wrong today. But I've never recognized that.
Yeah.
And nothing went wrong yesterday. Like, I don't know why I felt, I just woke up feeling that way. But because I put it in the tracker, then I was just like, well, I'm going to pay attention to this. I'm going to be nice to myself and I'm going to do something with somebody. And I'm just,
When you texted me, you said, I had the most incredible appointment.
Yeah.
I felt like she really saw me and heard me.
Yeah.
And we started this bit of the conversation talking about the book.
Yeah.
And one thing that I loved about it was his perspective of retelling the stories of his mother, like going into the school office and trying to figure out paperwork and all these times, and all the people that didn't see her and didn't hear her because of the color of her skin, because of the way that she talked, because she didn't speak English fluently. She spoke like 5 different languages, but because she didn't speak English fluently, they talked slowly and loudly and were impatient with her. And it really opened my eyes to consider how many times I overlook people because of the way that they talk or they dress or they look or whatever it might be. And this is what we all want, is to be seen and heard and acknowledged and accepted. Zuzu came home from 180 last night, which is the youth group, and she's just getting started in there. She's 6th grade, and that's when they get started. So she came home and told me about an interaction that a couple of her friends had. She wasn't there for the whole conversation, but they were talking, and another girl came up who wasn't an adult because she wasn't wearing a name badge, but just started asking them questions and telling them about herself. And her two friends had said got really awkward and weird and they were uncomfortable. So they went and told an adult. And she had told me some of the questions and things that the girl was saying.
Was it awkward?
It was
Unusual?
Maybe unusual,
Different, yeah.
but just telling them about, I forget what it was, what she ate for lunch or something like that.
Okay.
But I said, Zuzu, I would bet you $20
Yeah.
that girl is looking for a friend. She's seeking a point of connection that your two friends might say, hey, me too, and have that interaction to say, oh my gosh, this girl is like us. We can be friends with her. And it might have turned awkward or, right now, it seems like to kids, every face-to-face interaction is awkward.
If you're not texting me, I don't know how to. I don't even know how to talk to you. Is what I feel like teenagers are sensing. That's hard. That's hard because the girl's looking for connection. You're right. She absolutely is. I don't know. As a follower of Christ, I guess I feel torn on behalf of Zuzu because I'm the person that holds people at an arm's length. I feel torn on behalf of her. Like, what if the person was weird? What if you don't connect with them? What if you are uncomfortable? Like, what do you say to me? Like, what is my role as being a follower of Christ to welcome people that are different than me, that maybe I'm not going to click with, I'm not going to connect with, but I can still show them love?
Sure. I mean, if you can have a 5-minute conversation with somebody who comes up and says, I had tuna salad for lunch or whatever it is that they had said to her, and you just say, oh, do you like tuna salad? That you don't just say, oh, and kind of give them a little little nod.
That's actually a great question. Do you like tuna salad? Because then you can say, I really don't like it at all. And maybe you start realizing I'm being kind. I'm welcoming you. We might not end up connecting after this, but I don't have to give you the cold shoulder.
But I can give you 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
I think that, this is what we all want, is to be seen and heard and acknowledged, and to meet people that say, yeah, me too. I like that too, or I've experienced that too. But so often we interact with people that we perceive as different, that we just brush them off.
That's interesting. I would imagine most of the people that watch or listen to Life in Motion are at least an adult, 18 to whatever. And I think many of them are probably followers of Christ or interested in hearing what a follower of Christ may have to say. And I think that often we say things like, "Oh Lord, use me. I want to be your hands and feet and use me," but we don't interact with people. Yeah. And I think God puts people right in our path. So I had this crazy, amazing week with a psychiatrist appointment. And last night I was talking to a lady as I was working that merchandise table, and she said something very casually, just talking, and she very casually giggled and said, "My husband probably thinks I need to be on medication, blah, 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 blah." And then off the conversation went. But I thought, I've been on medication.
Yeah.
And I don't think that comment's weird, and you don't just say that.
Yeah.
So I just said, maybe it would help. I couldn't really even tell the difference when I was on it. And she was like, what have you been on? And so we started talking, and she had this fear that if she needed some medication, she would completely lose herself. And I said, I couldn't tell any difference. And she said, well, then why did you quit? Why did you keep taking it for so long? And I said, because everybody else I knew could tell the difference. And she's like, but you felt the same. I was like, I felt the same. She's like, I might make an appointment. But I just think we ask God, put people in our path that we could connect with. I doubt this lady and I will become friends. I doubt we will ever go to lunch together. We may never see each other again.
But you acknowledged her comment.
Right.
And asked her a question.
She probably eats tuna and I eat turkey, whatever. Yeah. But she said something that I could connect with. And I just quickly said, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And you could see her complete relief wash over her that she said it. It's almost like she was fishing and she didn't know it. She said a little comment that might make somebody say, oh, that's funny. Yeah.
I think that there's so many times that we are lonely or feeling unseen, unheard, that we do drop little comments.
Sure.
That we do drop little fish hooks out there is anybody going to hear me or see me?
Sure.
Is anybody going to acknowledge that I'm here.
Even something as simple as like if I have to really watch my self-talk, something as dumb as like you're checking out in Target and you forgot your checkbook, not your checkbook, your check card or whatever. And you're just like, I am so dumb. You say that. And really, you hope that God sends somebody across your path to say, oh, don't say that. No, you're not. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just think sometimes we want to be used by God and we miss the person in front of us. The awkward conversation at youth group, the flippant statement about medication. I mean, like, she could have said that to anyone else last night and that would have rolled right off. But I was like, oh, excuse me. Like, I actually have a real big opinion on that one right now because I just left the doctor, the psychiatrist. I went to a psychiatrist. I could totally help you. Oh, my goodness. Well, summer's not quite over, but I do think surviving summer on Life in Motion is...
You're shutting it down.
I'm shutting it down. I feel like... For those of you that have been surviving summer with us, we signed on for a 4-week mini season. And I don't know, we're like on episode 97 because no, I don't know what we're on, but we have overstayed our welcome. It's time to tell you we've had fun with you as we've survived summer, and we're going to have to wrap this up so that we can pack up our kids, get them ready for school, and join back up with you guys this fall. So any parting words?
Stay inside, enjoy the AC.
You are so funny. I was thinking parting words like, if anything we've said has helped you or has encouraged you or has made you think, we'd love for you to like and subscribe and share our podcast. We really hope that this isn't just for us. We hope it's for you as well. So thanks for surviving summer with us on Life in Motion.